Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Substitute Scoop. On today's episode, we are talking with Diane Howell from Hamilton Southeastern Schools in Fishers, Indiana. My name is Jamie West. I am the Executive Director of the Substitute Management Advisory Council, and we're going to dive into the National Substitute Survey for 2026, learn a little bit more about Diane, her take on the survey, her membership on the council, and a little bit more of what they do in Fishers, Indiana. So Diane, can you tell us a little bit about your school district, what it is you do, and let us learn from you?
Absolutely. And thanks for being here, Jamie. This is an exciting topic, and I'm really excited to talk about it with you. Hamilton Southeastern Schools is just north of Indianapolis, Indiana. We are 20,000 students. We are 23 schools, and we have grown exponentially in the last many years. There was a time there in the late 90s, early 2000, we were opening a new school every single year. I am the district sub coordinator who came to HSC schools about 4 years ago, not from education. I'm from the private sector, sales and customer service, and that's the hat that I brought in the role that we have here at HSC schools. And then I also manage our relationship with our vendor for our absence management and hiring other software systems that we use, and a multitude of other things within the office. I work closely with payroll and other things.
Okay, awesome. So when you talk about the size of your school district, how many employees do you have that are full-time, but also how many substitutes do you guys keep in cycle on a regular basis?
So we have three kinds of subs in our district. We have part-time, full-time building subs, which actually have the same insurance benefits as our teachers. And then we just added last year a special forces full-time, which are exceptional learner special ed subs who are trained to be in our exceptional learner classrooms. We are up to over 400 part-time subs, and we run about 75 full-timers in our building. When I came here 4 years ago, we had 19 part-timers. I'm sorry, 19 full-timers and
Okay.
about 150 part-timers. So we are spreading the word. HSC is the place to be in Hamilton County.
I love that. I love that. And I think what's really cool, like you said, you've been able to recruit, but also retain who you do have. Retain the good ones is the goal, right? So tell me a little bit about what you do to kind of move the needle when it comes to recruiting subs. It's a tough market we live in. So what is
Yes.
it that you're doing that encourages subs not only to work for Hamilton Southeastern, but show up when needed, as needed every day?
So the most important thing that it's a culture. We did not have a culture here that treated our subs with respect, made them feel valued as an employee in the district, and making a difference. What I tell everybody every day is that we keep the doors open every single day, and the people that step up to help us are invaluable. We have done a lot of things like, and we'll talk about from the survey, recruiting, training. They all want training. We say thank you. We highlight them in our newsletters. We have a multitude of ways to reach out to them and thank them. And we're building the culture from our teachers,
Mhm.
from our buildings. They're like, hey, this is a fabulous, fabulous team. And because I'm passionate about taking care of students, hopefully that carries over to our subs in the building.
Yeah. So we'll dive into the survey in a second, but I do want to ask, since you mentioned training, what kind of training? You say your subs need training, want training, right? We learned that from the survey
Yes,
this year.
from the
They
survey,
want it,
yeah.
they're asking for it, that professional development. What exactly is it that you feel like they want? Not what they need, because we know what, as a school district, we need to share with them legally, right? We know what they need to know in order to be successful, but what is it that they're asking for that they aren't quite handed to them when it comes to training?
Yes, and that behavior management,
Mm,
classroom management is the single biggest request. If this happens, what do I do? How to de-escalate, how to redirect when there's behavior issues in the classroom. And I think sometimes the buildings assume that because our substitutes are in our classrooms, they're teachers. Some of them have never been in a classroom before, and so we have to, we walk through in our training a day in the life of a sub, and we have our tenured subs actually run the training. Here's what you can expect in elementary. Here's what we do in elementary. Here's what we do in middle school. And then we put up scenarios like, if this happens, what would you do and how would you handle it? The other is how to handle our special education, special needs
Mhm.
students. It's not for everybody. It's tough. We're paying that group of individuals with that talent a little bit more, and we're putting them through some special de-escalation and modification of behavior training.
So you're saying that you have subs training other subs? Did I catch that
Yes,
correctly? That is
yes, yes.
phenomenal.
So what?
So
Yeah, and
just
it used
for,
to be like an
yeah,
hour,
okay.
and now we're doing a 3 hour training for all new subs before they walk into the classroom, and then we have our folks that are tenured subs actually
Hmm.
helping us and say, here's how it really works. She can
Hmm.
tell you all you want, but this is how it really works in the classroom. And it's the response has been fabulous.
That's amazing. So, question just from our HR brains, right? For our listeners here who are going, how would I be able to take that away and do that in my own district? Two questions. One, are you paying those subs who are assisting you extra to train the next group, right, of rookies coming in? And then also, are your subs paid while they attend training before they begin their position?
And that is new this year. So one of the things that I've
Yeah.
changed this year is that I'm doing phone interviews. We used to have people apply, they go through the process, they get vetted, they onboard, here's your documents, here's your I-9,
Hmm.
here's your ID, proof of college, etc. But now I'm doing phone interviews to see if they're even a fit for the district. And then we're inviting them into orientation. They are being paid for the 3 hours that they're here. And the subs, we're using our full-time subs who are paid for the day anyway. And then
Hmm.
they're, instead of reporting to a building for the day, they're coming over for that 3 hours to train our subs.
That's phenomenal. So if before we're even diving into the data here, people have things they can take away, copy and paste into their own school district. That strategy and having their peers training them is something that you experience in a classroom. So teachers use that strategy, right? We have peer
Yep,
reviews, we have peer groups, we have group projects. We're in that generation, right, in the community. Why don't we do that more as adults when we train each other? So I
I have
love that
no idea.
idea. I love that
Yeah,
idea,
I
and
love it.
especially that
I
you're
mean, I
getting
just
great
love it.
feedback from it, Diane.
And where I learned to do that is when I was doing the full timers annual reviews, and I'm like, tell me some tips. How do you do this? How do you do that? And they would just spill all these fabulous ideas, and I'm like, oh my gosh, we've got to use those with our new subs.
I love it. I love it. I think that's fantastic. So, you ready to dive into just a little
I'm
bit of the
ready.
data? I
I'm
know in
ready.
Indiana it's going to be a little different. So, if you have a data point you want to bring up that you looked at that really connected with your community, please let me know. One of the things that I recognize when I go through the sub survey, um, one, we surveyed nearly 20,000 substitutes nationwide. It's phenomenal. It's the most responses that we've had in the spring of 2026. We did this during March. It goes out on the Red Rover platform to all substitute teachers, substitute teacher assistants, any substitute in the platform that has access to the bulletin board within their district, and they are able to complete the survey anonymously. So we do this every year. This is our fourth year doing this at Red Rover, and our fourth year doing this as part of a council all across the country that we're able to just understand how to better meet substitutes where they are. That is our goal as a council. And I know you're nodding right now, and our listeners can't hear that, but you're nodding in agreement because this is just so, you and I are so passionate about this. And that's why I was like, Diane would be the perfect person to dissect this data with on a podcast. Um, One of the things that sticks out to me is the year over year trends and how things have changed. We didn't start the survey until after COVID, so we really don't have that pre-COVID data. We have the myths and assumptions that we
Yep.
think substitutes are thinking, but we don't actually know. So all the data we're sharing today, when we say year over year or past years, previous years, all of it was post COVID, because the world we live in education post 2021 is very different than how it was before that. We both have been in it. We've been in classrooms as subs, so we do understand what it looks like from both sides. And I just wanted to share that with our listeners before we actually start talking numbers because we don't want to get lost in the sauce here.
Sure.
One of the points that really stuck out to me this year, Diane, I don't know if you picked up on it. Mainly, I mean, it's all going to be different to everyone based on where they are in the country and what their sub pool looks like. When I was a sub coordinator for Lake County Schools here in Central Florida, we're a top 100 school district, very, very large school district for the country. And managing subs post COVID was pretty wild. There's a lot of hand holding, a lot of training, and a lot of myth busting, right? Like we have to
Yes.
realize that what we think we know, we might not know. And until you start collecting the feedback, you don't really understand the bigger picture. And we're so close to multiple universities and colleges being in Florida. They're all around us, but we don't
Yes.
have one in our district. And so, because of that, our data, I think, was always assumed that we had all these college students subbing. And we really did not have all these college students subbing. You think you know, but you don't know, right? So,
Exactly.
one of the things I found interesting this year was in 2024, 12% of the national substitute pool, based on the number of people responding, 12% were actively in college and taking college courses. This year, 2026, only 7% are actively taking college courses, which, when you think about Gallup polls and other data outside of our data, that's about average. Like, you don't have as many people entering college. And if they're in college, they're not, they don't have a lot of side gigs. They're doing internships. They're in different career paths other than education. That's the
Mhm.
data we do know nationally. So I do think this aligns. And I want to ask you, do you feel like that is an alarming number? Do you feel like that's alarming data? Are you concerned that there are less college students subbing, or do you think that's an opportunity?
So I personally, and looking at our college students that sub, because we have multiple universities within an hour of us who
Hmm.
come home
Us too.
when school's out, and then some of them will sub. Um, I'm not alarmed at that. I
Mhm.
think it's an opportunity for us. I think they're so busy with other things, and I hear the side gigs that they have going on, which pay more than
Mhm.
this, and many of them are not education majors that are in college, and so they're thinking along the right path. I want to do something that's going to align with where I want to end ultimately in my career. And so, and I always remind them, I said, give it a try. It's going to make your resume look that much better. If you
Mhm.
can manage a classroom of kids, you can kind of do anything, and seriously. And they're like,
It's
oh, I hadn't
true.
thought about that. I mean, there's no obstacle, there's no problem that comes across your desk in any profession that you can't handle if you can't be flexible in the classroom. Plus, if you're in education, I encourage them to do it because what if you don't like it? Then you can change majors now.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
I'm not concerned at all.
Yeah, one of the programs we had at Lake, and I know we've talked about on other podcast episodes, these grow your own programs. Where, like, once we get people into the sub pool, you're gonna know fairly quickly in your school district, even just as a substitute, you and I knew very quickly if we want to teach or not. Like, probably
Yes.
within the first 5 jobs you pick up, if you
Yeah.
sub at a different grade level or different classroom style, right? ESE classroom, maybe a physical education classroom. Maybe you're in a high school chemistry class. Maybe you do fifth grade and you're teaching the water cycle, whatever it may be, you're going to know fairly quickly if you're built for this. So I do genuinely encourage people to at least try subbing, like you said. But I do find I like what you said with them having other jobs that pay more. I do see that there's obviously a problem there, but I do feel like what that does for us in education is it weeds out the people who don't have the heart for it. Because your heart, you're going to learn, is either built for it or not. And if your heart's built
Right.
for it, typically the money doesn't matter, right? It,
Ex-
it does to an extent. We
Exactly.
all have to live, but I feel like it does kind of weed through some of that. Um, so, speaking about pay, I did want to mention too, one of the things that we've observed, and this has been an incline every year in the survey data that we do collect, is how important salary is versus other things. One of the things we know in education is that everyone leaves the career, the education profession, right? We think everyone leaves because we don't pay them enough. That's what we think. Or that's how they answer it on their exit survey, right?
Yep.
According to this data, that's not true. It is not the most important thing to them. One of the things that I pulled away was that we have 90% out of 18,000 people, 90% said that the most important thing to them that keeps them subbing year after year is that they're making a difference, that they
Yep.
know that they're making a difference and that what they're doing is important.
That is
Do
exactly
you
true.
feel like that's pretty accurate up there in Indiana as well?
Yes, absolutely. And to take that a step further is they know that they're making a difference because they're appreciated by the admin and the teachers and the staff in the building. So this
Mm.
year our subs are all going to have neon lanyards,
Okay.
bright pink, bright green, because some of the buildings, the subs say, I don't really, because I ask, because I use fill rates by building and say, why does this building have a low fill rate? And then I ask the subs who frequent there or used to frequent there or those that have a high fill rate, why do you go there besides geography close to my house? And it's because people will say, hey, thanks for being here. Let me know if I can help you. But if we all have the same badge, blue and white, they don't know maybe that person is a sub. So we're going to neon
Mm-hmm.
them and we're going to get the buildings to say, hey, thanks. Let me know if I can help. Join us
Yeah.
for lunch, whatever. That's the single most important. And principals coming by to say thank you.
Yeah.
That matters
I,
to them.
So much, so much. It makes such a big difference. When I
Yes.
was subbing frequently, I subbed at a middle school twice. All right. Middle school was not made for me. It's not made for everybody, but it's definitely not made for me. Those sixth graders ate me alive the 2 days I was there. But there was a substitute custodian who subbed at that middle school. It was my middle school I attended when I was a kid. And most people didn't know he was a sub. He was there all the time, filling in for everybody on the custodial staff. You have 8 custodians across the middle school,
Yeah.
and he was filling in all kinds of different roles. So everyone just thought that he worked there full time. Poor guy made a lot less than anyone else, had the craziest hours, but he knew the kids' names, and he knew the front office staff, and he knew the bell schedule like the back of his hand, and what kids to expect at the bus loop, and he helped out everywhere, and he was just a sub custodian. But to me, there's never just a sub custodian, right?
I, I,
He was doing
I,
so much
oh,
extra work,
yep.
and he won a award for his extra work at the end of the year. And just I think a lot of people forget, especially when you have subs showing up every day and you have parents on campus, you have volunteers on campus, you have admin changes and turnover, or somebody who's out may
Sure.
not recognize. They just see, like you said, that sub may be there every day. So they're like, they forget they're a sub, maybe. Or there's a
Exactly.
sub that they only see once in a blue moon, and they forget maybe that they're on campus that day because they just kind of blend, right? You get lost in the chaos of school. And so for administrators to be able to recognize them by a highlighter color badge that you can't miss, I think is a fantastic idea. It's a great
Yeah. So
takeaway, Diane.
we're doing that.
Yeah.
And the other thing related to that is that we're also asking our frequent flyers, our frequent subbers, and our
Mhm.
full-timers for bios that we provide to the building. And then they know, like, oh my gosh, this person is, and we actually have them. We have members of the race teams of Indianapolis at the 500 who actually sub, and
That's
so
awesome.
they highlight that with the kids and are like, hey, this is how we use math and science at the racetrack. This is how we use math and science when we cook or clean up
Hmm.
toxic waste. And to me, that's one of the most important things that a sub brings is real life experiences they can't
Hmm.
get from an educator, and how they can translate that to classroom and getting kids excited to learn.
Oh, I love that. And I love the idea of having that substitute write up a bio about themselves. Or if you learn, if they don't want to and they feel odd about it, maybe as a sub coordinator, you'd be like, do you mind if I just ghost write a little bio for you that I can share with the schools so they know a little more about you? They know who's on their campus. And you're not just a name on a piece of paper
Exactly.
or a name in a computer. Yeah, I think that's fantastic. Um, on on the same note of retention for substitutes and creating that culture that we're talking about, I'll mention one more statistic before we kind of dive off of this podcast session here. I wanted to talk about leaving lesson plans because it is a hot topic
Oh my gosh.
and it is a stressful topic that no one wants to talk about. And I think a lot of people are like, oh, subs are just, they're fine without lesson plans, right? Like
Mm-mm.
they'll still continue, they'll still come back. The data tells us that is completely wrong. And my gut tells me that's wrong because I was a sub and I know if I wasn't left lesson plans and the front office couldn't help me and a teacher across the hall couldn't help me, I'm probably not going back to that school. I
Yeah,
know that from experience. So being able to see the data year after year increase in this likelihood to return to a classroom, 88.8, 88.6%. So almost 90%. We're going to round that up. Almost 90% say that reliable lesson plans are very important when choosing an assignment, let alone returning to that building for
yep,
another assignment if they go through that experience. So it is beyond important to make sure that your subs have the tools that they need before they even select yes or confirm the job that they're selecting, right?
exactly.
So what is it that maybe, let's say a day in the life in Hamilton, Southeastern, and Fishers, Indiana, what is a substitute to expect when it comes to showing up on a school campus or scrolling through their system to see Red Rover, Frontline, whatever it may be, and say, okay, are the lesson plans here? Did they leave notes that there are some in the classroom? What does that look like for a substitute? What can they expect there if there aren't any even left?
So, so I now speak to all the new teachers that are hired,
Hmm.
and I tell them, I said, you're going to leave here and you're going to go do a paper and pencil backup subplan when the internet is down for half a day or a day,
Yeah.
and you're gonna have a backup always. And I tell them I am a bulldog about subplans. I mean, obviously people get sick and then things happen, but the beauty of our relationship with Red Rover is that our teachers are uploading subplans so the sub can see them the day before. They have the ability to put information about their classroom in there, and so we're gonna have a
Mhm.
contest this year to see how many teachers can add the classroom information. And some of the data that I've created or found is that teachers that have the classroom information in their system, I have one, Jenna Chick, and her picture on Red Rover is a chick. You know, that's her last name. She has never not had a sub in her classroom because detail is so fabulous, and
Mhm.
so everybody wants a sub in her classroom, and they go in and they see those sub plans. And if the teachers don't have them, I'll give them a pass once or twice, but then I get after them, and everybody knows that I will. It's like, hey, we're
Mhm.
here to do our job. My philosophy is that we're invisibly visible. We show up, you know that we were there, but we weren't really there. We came in, got our assignment, did our job based on what you left us, said thank you, and we left. And so I will
Mhm.
hold them accountable. I have to tell you a funny story. I had a guy go on his honeymoon, 5 days. His mother is a principal, and he left no subplans. So I had a heyday.
Ooh.
I had a heyday with that one. So I mean,
And you know better when your parent is in the school system too.
and a
Definitely,
principal, no
definitely.
less. Yeah.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
it hands down, that's the single biggest complaint. Conversely, the single biggest complaint, one of the biggest I get about the subs is they didn't follow the sub plans. So
Mm.
we train and train and train. It's like I have to make sure people can read and they can write and they can follow directions to be a sub, and you got to leave notes. We're
Hmm.
not mind readers. So 100% agree with that in the survey.
Yeah. Yeah. What blows my mind year after year is that people get surprised. They'll respond to the survey and they're like, or they don't respond to the survey, they respond to the survey results as a sub coordinator and HR leader. And they're like, are lesson plans really that important? Yes, they are
Oh
really that important.
gosh.
Especially because we have so many new subs, right? Or new to your school subs. They might not be new to subbing, but they're new to us, new to your campus. They need to know the emergency fire drill map. They need to know if there's a school assembly that day. They need to know the bell schedule. But on top of that, they need to know all the tools. They need a full toolbox when they walk into that
Exactly.
classroom. They need to know student allergies. They need to know how the checkout process works, all the different things throughout a school campus, but also all the things that that teacher needs and wants during their absence or vacancy for that classroom. So I think that's something that hopefully our listeners can take away the idea of having that conversation with teachers when they first come in, but also having not being scared to have that conversation with administrators. I think that's something, if we're not a director of HR, right? We sometimes kind of fear administrators. You have that stigma as I'm in the principal's office every time you talk to them because that's just their principal, right? But
Yeah,
being able to get through and break down that barrier is going to allow you to have real conversations to say, subs need lesson plans. Here's some basics. Here's a Pinterest board I've created for the subs in this school district or for the administrators to kind of maybe the administrators then need to talk to their teachers instead of just HR. And it's okay to have those conversations. I think
exactly.
as HR, we sometimes fear that. You don't want to ever overstep, but HR is people. We're here to serve the people, we're here to meet them where they are. And if we want subs to continuously return, if we want that 100% fill rate, right,
Exactly.
we've got to build that culture you're talking about.
Well, and
So, yeah.
we as sub coordinators need to build the relationship with the admins. We are here to help you. We're a team. How can I help you? What can I do? And then conversely, here's what I need your help with. And they always respond because they know
Hmm.
that we're in this together, that we go above and beyond to take care of what they need. And I think it's a teamwork. It's not us against them. And I think it used to be that way,
Hmm.
subs against the buildings.
Yeah, 100%. And like you said, it's all a team now. We all have the same
Yeah.
goal, right? We all want student success, and we want the end of the school year to be say, "Wow, we did this together. We did this
Yes.
together," right? So it's a
Exactly.
great, great feeling. So I want to say we're going to wrap it up. Thank you so
Okay.
much, Diane,
I could
for
talk all
being
day,
on
so
the
you know.
Substitute
So
Scoop. Say that again.
I said I could talk all day. So
I know.
but
We both could.
I
So
know.
thank you so much, Diane Howell,
Thank
for
you.
joining me on the Substitute Scoop today. We are going to go ahead and wrap it up. So huge shout out. Thank you so much for not only representing Fishers, Indiana and Hamilton Southeastern schools, but being a member of the Substitute Management Advisory Council. So to our listeners, if you want to learn more about the council, please go to smacouncil.com. And we look forward to learning together, learning more from you. And please help us meet you where you are as sub managers across the country. So thank you again. And that's the scoop.